Welcome to our deep dive into some of the most famous executions in world history. These events, often brutal and unforgiving, provide a stark and often unsettling window into the societies in which they took place. From the ancient world to the modern era, the act of taking a life as punishment has been a constant, albeit evolving, aspect of human civilization. These events have left a lasting impact on society and continue to be remembered to this day. Over the course of this series, we will journey through time exploring the stories behind these infamous executions. We will delve into the lives of the condemned, the circumstances that led to their downfall, and the lasting consequences of their deaths. Our journey begins in ancient Athens, a society renowned for its philosophical and democratic ideals. Socrates, a man of sharp wit, would engage his fellow citizens in lively debates, challenging their beliefs. His unorthodox methods did not sit well with everyone. His questioning of authority earned him powerful enemies. In 399 BC, he was charged with impiety and corrupting the youth. The trial was a clash between tradition and innovation. His accusers argued he undermined the traditional gods. Socrates defended himself, promoting critical thinking. His defense fell on deaf ears. The jury found him guilty. The punishment was death. Sentenced to death, Socrates chose death over exile, believing fleeing would betray his philosophy. Socrates: "To live a life unexamined is not worth living." In his cell, surrounded by students, Socrates drank the hemlock. His death was a final act of defiance, a testament to his belief in reason. Plato immortalized Socrates, ensuring his legacy of critical inquiry lived on. From the battlefields of 15th century France, a young peasant girl named Joan of Arc rose to prominence, becoming a symbol of French resistance. Born in Domremy, Joan experienced divine visions from St. Michael, St. Catherine, and St. Margaret. These visions instructed her to drive the English from French soil. Joan traveled to Chinon, impressing Charles VII with her piety and conviction. Clad in white armor, Joan became a beacon of hope for the French forces. Joan's presence on the battlefield had an electrifying effect on the French troops. Her unwavering belief in her divine mission, her courage in the face of danger, and her strategic acumen inspired the French soldiers, who had long been demoralized by a series of defeats. Joan of Arc: "At the head of the French army, I led a series of stunning victories against the English, culminating in the liberation of Orléans, a strategically vital city that had been under English siege for months. My victory at Orléans turned the tide of the war in France's favor and secured my place as a national heroine." However, Joan's triumph was to be short-lived. In 1430, during a skirmish at Compiègne, she was captured by Burgundian forces, allies of the English. Handed over to the English, she was imprisoned in Rouen, where she faced a new and more insidious enemy: the Inquisition. Joan of Arc, accused of heresy and witchcraft, I was subjected to a grueling trial orchestrated by Pierre Cauchon, a pro-English bishop determined to see me condemned. My visions, once seen as signs of divine favor, were now twisted into evidence of my supposed pact with the devil. Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII, played a pivotal role in the English Reformation. Her marriage to Henry, which led to England's break from the Roman Catholic Church, was as scandalous as it was momentous. However, Anne's time as queen was short-lived. Anne Boleyn, after failing to produce a male heir, I fell out of favor with the king. Accused of adultery, incest and treason, charges widely believed to have been fabricated, I was imprisoned in the Tower of London. My fall from grace was as swift as my rise to prominence. On May 17, 1536, Anne Boleyn was led to the scaffold within the Tower of London. Her execution sent shockwaves through the court and across Europe. The woman who had captivated a king and defied a church was gone, leaving behind a legacy as controversial as it was enduring: Anne Boleyn. The execution of Anne Boleyn marked a turning point in English history. It solidified the king's power, demonstrating that even a queen was not beyond the reach of his will. It also further entangled the English monarchy with religious reform, setting the stage for the tumultuous years to come. Anne Boleyn's execution, unlike many others of the time, was a relatively private affair. A skilled swordsman was brought over from France specifically for the occasion. This, it is believed, was intended as an act of mercy, as a clean beheading was considered more humane than the often botched executions by axe. Anne Boleyn. On that fateful day, I, dressed in a loose dark robe, made my way to the scaffold. I addressed the small gathering with dignity and composure, maintaining my innocence but expressing my acceptance of fate. Her composure is said to have unsettled even those who had condemned her. With a single blow, the executioner severed Anne's head from her body. Her remains were buried in an unmarked grave within the Tower of London. Over the centuries, Anne Boleyn's story has been told and retold, transforming her from a historical figure into a legend. The circumstances surrounding her trial and execution remain shrouded in mystery and speculation. Was she truly guilty of the crimes she was accused of? Or was she a victim of courtly intrigue and the king's ambition? These questions continue to fascinate historians and capture the imaginations of people worldwide. Louis XVI, the last king of France before the French Revolution, ascended the throne in 1774, inheriting a kingdom on the brink of collapse. While he was not a cruel or tyrannical ruler, Louis XVI was ill-equipped to deal with the mounting social and economic problems plaguing France. His reign was marked by financial mismanagement, exacerbated by France's involvement in the American Revolutionary War. This, coupled with a series of poor harvests, led to widespread poverty and discontent among the French populace. The stage was set for revolution. In 1789, with the storming of the Bastille, the French Revolution began. The monarchy was abolished, and Louis XVI, stripped of his title and declared a citizen, became a prisoner of the revolution. His fate, intertwined with the tumultuous events of the revolution, would be decided not by royal decree but by the will of the people. The trial of Louis XVI was a highly charged affair. Accused of treason against the nation, he was put on trial before the National Convention, a body formed to govern France during the Revolution. The evidence against him, primarily his attempts to flee France and seek foreign aid, was presented and debated at length. After much deliberation, the National Convention found Louis XVI guilty of treason. The sentence was death. The once absolute monarch was to be executed by the guillotine, a device that had become a symbol of the revolution itself. On a cold January morning in 1793, Louis XVI was taken to the Place de la Révolution, now known as the Place de la Concorde, one of Paris's most famous squares. Despite facing his own mortality, Louis XVI then is said to have maintained a sense of regality and composure, even in his final moments. He made a short speech declaring his innocence and expressing his love for France. Then, with a resounding thud, the blade of the guillotine fell, ending the reign of Louis XVI, and with it centuries of French monarchy. The execution of Louis XVI sent shockwaves across Europe. It marked a turning point in the French Revolution, ushering in a period of radical change and violence known as the Reign of Terror. The king's death served as a stark warning to monarchs across Europe, demonstrating the power of the people and the fragility of absolute rule. Marie Antoinette, the last Queen of France before the Revolution, was born into the opulent world of the Habsburg court in Austria. Married to Louis XVI at 14, she arrived at the French court as a symbol of international alliance. Marie Antoinette, known for my extravagant lifestyle, I became a target of vicious rumors and propaganda. With the storming of the Bastille and the arrest of Louis XVI, my fate became linked to the crumbling French monarchy. Despite the horrors I faced, I displayed remarkable resilience, clinging to my dignity and faith. In October 1793, Marie Antoinette was put on trial by the Revolutionary Tribunal. Accused of treason and depleting the national treasury, she faced a barrage of accusations. On October 16, 1793, Marie Antoinette was found guilty and sentenced to death. Stripped of her finery, she was driven through the streets of Paris in an open cart. Reaching the Place de la Révolution, she met her fate with stoicism. As the blade of the guillotine fell, it marked the end of an era. The French Revolution witnessed the rise of figures who would shape the destiny of a nation. Among them was Maximilien Robespierre, a lawyer and politician. As a member of the National Assembly and the Committee of Public Safety, he became a key architect of the Reign of Terror. Robespierre's commitment earned him the moniker the Incorruptible. However, his association with the Terror led to his downfall. As the Reign of Terror reached its zenith, so too did the paranoia and suspicion that fueled it. Robespierre's enemies, sensing an opportunity to strike, accused him of tyranny and plotted his demise. On 9 Thermidor, a date etched in the annals of revolutionary history, Robespierre's arrest was ordered by the National Convention. A dramatic struggle ensued, culminating in Robespierre's attempted suicide, which left him gravely wounded. The following day, he, along with his supporters, was sent to the guillotine, the very instrument of terror that he had wielded so effectively. The execution of Robespierre marked a turning point in the French Revolution, signaling the end of the Reign of Terror and the beginning of a new chapter in French history. Robespierre's legacy remains a subject of intense debate to this day. Some view him as a ruthless dictator responsible for countless deaths, while others see him as a visionary idealist who was ultimately betrayed by those he sought to empower. Regardless of one's perspective, there is no denying that Maximilien Robespierre was a pivotal figure in one of the most tumultuous periods in human history, a man whose life and death continue to fascinate and horrify in equal measure. Charles, King of England, Scotland and Ireland, ascended to the throne in 1625, inheriting a realm already fraught with religious and political tensions. A staunch believer in the divine right of kings, Charles clashed repeatedly with Parliament over matters of taxation and governance. His attempts to impose high Anglicanism on the Church of England further alienated Puritan factions within Parliament. The English Civil War, which erupted in 1642, pitted the royalist forces loyal to the king against the parliamentarians, who sought to curtail the king's power. The conflict, which raged for 7 years, tore the nation apart, leaving a trail of devastation and bloodshed in its wake. Charles, captured by parliamentarian forces in 1647, refused to concede to their demands, believing his authority to be absolute and divinely ordained. His unwavering belief in his own authority would ultimately prove to be his undoing. Tried for treason by a special court established by Parliament, Charles was found guilty and sentenced to death. The execution of a reigning monarch was an unprecedented event in English history, a stark demonstration of the shifting balance of power between the Crown and Parliament. On a cold January day in 1649, Charles V was led to a scaffold outside the banqueting house in Whitehall. A large crowd gathered, a sombre silence falling over them as the king addressed the throng. With a single blow of the executioner's axe, Charles V was beheaded, his reign brought to a brutal end. The execution sent shockwaves throughout Europe, marking a turning point in English history. It signaled the end of absolute monarchy and the rise of republicanism. Mary, Queen of Scots, a figure shrouded in intrigue and tragedy, was born into a world of power struggles and religious strife. Crowned Queen of Scotland at just 6 days old, she inherited a realm torn apart by factionalism and English ambitions. Sent to France at the age of 5 to secure her safety and to be raised as the future Queen of France, Mary's early life was a whirlwind of courtly intrigue and political maneuvering. However, fate had other plans. The death of her young husband, King Francis II of France, left Mary a widow at the age of 18, forcing her to return to Scotland, a land largely unknown to her. The Scotland she returned to was a far cry from the sophisticated French court she had known. Torn by religious strife between Catholics and Protestants, Scotland presented a formidable challenge for the young queen. Mary's Catholic faith in a nation increasingly embracing Protestantism made her a target for suspicion and intrigue. Her tumultuous personal life, including a series of ill-advised marriages, further fueled the fires of controversy, ultimately leading to her downfall. Accused of complicity in her husband's murder, Mary was forced to abdicate her throne. Seeking refuge in England, she appealed to Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth, wary of Mary's claim, placed her under house arrest. Found guilty of treason, she was sentenced to death. On February 8, 1587, Mary was beheaded at Fotheringhay Castle. Her tragic story resonates, a tale of love, betrayal, and power. The year is 1917. Europe is engulfed in the chaos of the First World War, a conflict that has brought the grand empires of the continent to their knees. Among them is the Russian Empire, ruled for centuries by the Romanov dynasty. Nicholas II, the final Tsar, sits upon a throne that is beginning to crumble. His reign had been marked by increasing unrest and discontent among the Russian people. The bloody carnage of the Great War only served to amplify these grievances. Food shortages, economic instability, and the crushing weight of military defeats fueled the flames of revolution. Within this maelstrom of discontent, a new force emerged. The Bolsheviks, led by the enigmatic Vladimir Lenin. Their ideology, promising peace, land, and bread, resonated with the desperate masses. The Romanov dynasty, once seemingly invincible, now faced an existential threat. The Bolsheviks, seizing the reins of power in a swift and decisive coup, placed Nicholas and his family under house arrest. Their fate, once secure in the gilded cages of their palaces, now hung precariously in the balance. The stage was set for a dramatic and tragic end to a dynasty that had ruled for over 3 centuries. The family was moved to Ekaterinburg, a city in the Ural Mountains. Imprisoned in the Ipatiev house, they lived as prisoners of the revolution. Confined within its walls, Nicholas, Alexandra, and their children awaited their fate. On July 17, 1918, they were awakened and led to the basement. The execution squad stood ready to carry out the Bolshevik decree. A volley of gunshots ended the Romanov dynasty. Saddam Hussein, a name synonymous with power and ruthlessness, ruled Iraq with an iron fist for over 2 decades. He was a master of political maneuvering, brutally suppressing dissent while cultivating his image. His quest for dominance led to a disastrous war with Iran lasting 8 years. The invasion of Kuwait in 1990 led to the First Gulf War and his eventual downfall. In 2003, a US-led coalition invaded Iraq, marking the end of Saddam Hussein's reign. Saddam Hussein, once untouchable, was found hiding near Tikrit. His capture marked a pivotal moment, ending his regime. He was tried for crimes against humanity by the Iraqi Special Tribunal. On November 5, 2006, he was sentenced to death by hanging. On December 30th, 2006, Saddam Hussein was led to the gallows. His execution marked the end of an era, but the scars remain. From the hemlock of ancient Athens to the gallows of Baghdad, we have journeyed through time, bearing witness to the executions of kings and queens, revolutionaries and dictators. Each execution, a dramatic climax to a life lived on the world stage, left an indelible mark on the pages of history. These executions, though tragic, have played significant roles in shaping the course of history. They serve as stark reminders of the power of ideology, the allure of ambition, and the fragility of human life. The stories of those who faced their final moments with courage, defiance, or despair continue to resonate with us centuries later. Their lives, though extinguished, continue to spark debate and discussion, prompting us to grapple with the complexities of justice, morality, and the human condition. The echoes of their stories remind us that the past is never truly behind us, but continues to shape the world we live in today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights.